Hey everybody, welcome back to The Stuff of Legend. My name is D-Lo and I've got another video for you guys today. We are going to be talking about a bunch of HBO Max and DC content that's coming. And even if you stick around to the end, I've got a bonus special fun story that happened to me this week. A very, very small thing. It's kind of more of a pitch that got a little bit of a response, and I wanted to share that with you. I thought it was fun. So stick around for that. At the end, we're going to have a fun discussion, and leave your comments in the live chat. I will answer any comments, reply to any of that questions you might have. We can take those on at the end, so stick around for that. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into the first topic of the day. First topic of the day is a big one. We're going to be talking about everything that's coming to HBO Max, all the shows announced, and for Warner Media streaming service. Now, if you guys aren't already familiar, today is the day of streaming is November 11th, 2019. Now, the significance of this is that it's the day before the Disney streaming service launches at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's a big deal. Now, the competition here has up till now pretty much been the DC streaming service, but when you look at the full roster of everything that's coming to the Disney streaming service, DC Universe doesn't stack up quite at all. And it's because of the vast library that is at the disposal of Disney. They're literally letting all of their previous vault movies and TV shows onto the streaming service almost at launch, almost all of them. Also tons and tons of new content, original content that's starting up there. So the DC streaming service is doing its best to keep up. I quite enjoy it. I'm not going to let that go. Lots of great things there. Titans is great. Young Justice is great. Doom Patrol was really awesome, and so is the unfortunately ended early the show Swamp Thing, which was really, really nice. I hope they do a lot more of that content. There is possibility of a lot more of that coming onto the DC streaming service. I'll talk about that again at the end if we have the time for it. But in the meantime, all of this to say, HBO is also under the umbrella of Warner Media. So Warner Media is kind of a collaborating parent company, I believe, to HBO Max, as well as the DC streaming service being DC, which is under the parent company Warner Brothers as well. So Warner Media is kind of putting their kids together on this type of thing. I'll show you some of this stuff that's coming out. So let's go ahead and get into the beginning of this article. I'll let you guys do a lot of the homework yourself, but I'll give you the gist. Warner Media has revealed a May 2020 release window and a $14.99 price point for its streaming service HBO Max. HBO Max will attempt to compete with the likes of Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and the new Disney Plus platform. Warner Media's decision to use its already established HBO branding could help attract new subscribers who are already familiar with the premium network's prestigious history, which includes The Wire, The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, and Band of Brothers. And perhaps even more importantly, HBO Max will be the only place you can watch all 236 episodes of Friends after Netflix recently paid $100 million to retain the rights for just one more year. Plus, stream every season of South Park. Apart from those iconic comedies, viewers will also be able to stream shows and movies from Warner's impressive collection of properties. The CW, which includes Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, DC's Legend of Tomorrow. That's going to include Batwoman. That's going to include Black Lightning. Pretty much everything on CW, because that's also under the parentage of Warner Brothers. You also have Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. You also have TNT and, of course, HBO, along with movies like Joker and all of the DCEU films. So those types of things are all going on to this HBO streaming service. So if you were thinking, well, I don't really watch HBO, do you watch the CW? Do you watch any of those shows? Or do you possibly watch Adult Swim, TNT? Do you happen to watch Cartoon Network? Because all of those vast libraries are going to go on to HBO Max. They are really hitting hard to try to get some viewership out here, and they are going to have a very strong partnership with the DC content. Just like how Disney has a strong partnership with Marvel, Warner Bros. Is hitting hard with DC content. We're going to get into that in just a second. So you also have HBO Max will also be developing new original series of its own, including live action Greg Berlanti produced Green Lantern series. and then it talks a little bit about that for just a second. I want you guys to know we are going to talk about that Green Lantern thing next. That'll be the next thing we talk about is Green Lantern, because I have a little bit to say about that, what you guys can kind of expect from that, and also some of the other DC property shows that will be coming to HBO. So far, it already sounds like a really killer deal, and it sounds like it's stacking up to fare pretty well in the war against Disney, with the massive amount of content they will have, including Friends. I know that's just one show, but that's a very binge-worthy show and rewatchable show. A lot of people are into rewatching, like just a handful of shows. People rewatch The Office. People rewatch Parks and Recreation. People rewatch New Girl. People rewatch and Friends. Friends is probably the number one most rewatchable show out of all of them, maybe next to The Office. So they got their hands on that. So that is going to be part of their plan. Now, they're also talking about this Green Lantern live-action TV show by Greg Berlanti. Now, first up, who's Greg Berlanti? Greg Berlanti, right here. Greg Berlanti produces the DC TV shows. Now, when I say DC TV shows, I don't just mean like, for instance, Arrow or Supergirl. It's Arrow, it's Supergirl, it's like I'll show you guys his IMDb really quick. I'll jump right back to it, but let's take a look here. It says he's noted for The Flash, Love, Simon, Arrow, the Green Lantern movie. A lot of people didn't like that one as much. I thought it was not as bad as people beat it up for being, but regardless of that, let's go down a little bit. So we go down back to some of his earlier work. We've got, let's see, I want to find stuff that's pertinent to this. So we got Green Lantern Emerald Knights, which is a movie, a Green Lantern animated movie. Then shortly after that, there was the Green Lantern movie he helped produce. He produced that. There's also Arrow Year One, The Tomorrow People, which was kind of like a superhero-y, had an X-Men type of feel. A bunch of young adults start coming into these abilities, and they come together to really pull off some really cool stuff. Then there was also Vixen, Vixen the movie, Freedom Fighters, Constantine City of Demons, Constantine City of Demons the movie. Then there's also, let me see what else there is. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Riverdale, The Flash, the Supergirl, Black Lightning, Titans. So now this is stuff on the DC universe, not just the CW. We have Titans, Batwoman, which is CW, Arrow, Doom Patrol, which is DC universe. And now it's starting to get into some of these. These I thought were really interesting too, because the Untitled Green Lantern inspired series is the one that's coming to HBO. Then we have him on credit for that right now. It looks like they're just getting ready to produce a pilot right now, because it just says episode 1. Then there's also Stargirl, which is going to be a DC Universe show on the DC Universe app, not HBO. And then also, this is interesting. I didn't know about this until I started prepping to make this video. Deathstroke, Knights and Dragons, a TV series. If there's 12 episodes, I'm going to wager that this is going to be something on the DC Universe streaming service that they haven't yet announced. And also, Superman and Lois, that's going to be a TV series that he's producing on the CW. And Strange Adventures, which is going to be, I believe it very likely could be about Adam Strange. I'm not sure. But Strange Adventures is looking like it's going to be on HBO. And I'll have the links to all these articles so you can do the research there as well, and you can confirm that for yourself down below in the comment or in the description of this video. And Booster Gold, this one is not recent, but a Booster Gold project he produced that was announced forever ago, just never got off the ground. I believe that was talked about back. Sorry guys, excuse me. In like 2008 or something, 2009, really long time ago. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that he's done DC pretty much all the way, and now he's contracted with HBOMAX. So now we're talking HBOMAX. So let me go ahead and come back to this thing here. Hopefully this isn't ringing in your guys' ears, but we've got we've got all this. So let's read this real quick. Warner Media has announced a new live-action Green Lantern series. Executive producer Greg Berlanti calls our biggest DC show ever made. That Green Lantern project is one of 3 new DC comics based on shows coming exclusively to HBOMAX streaming platform. The news comes out of a presentation at Warner Media HBOMAX presentation. Warner Media has yet to reveal a name for the Green Lantern project, describing it only as a Green Lantern-inspired series. Whether that implies the series will deviate from the traditional Green Lantern mythology or focus on characters other than traditional protagonists like Hal Jordan or John Stewart remains to be seen. I'll be willing to bet that if it's Greg Berlanti, they're probably gonna go with one of the like 4 or 5 main Green Lanterns that are like the stars of the series. So it's either gonna be Hal Jordan, John Stewart. It'll be Kyle Rayner. It'll be I hope Guy Gardner's in it, but I think if they're going to use Guy Gardner, it's very likely that will probably end up being either a secondary supporting character or a character that ends up kind of going rogue. It won't be. I don't think they'll use Guy Gardner as the main guy, even though I like him a lot. And then there's Jessica Cruz. I'm forgetting the other guy's name. Anyway. Simon Baz, I think that's it. So Simon Baz. There's a lot of Green Lanterns that have been the primary lantern at one point or another, where the stories center around 1 or 2 of them at a time. I hope they do kind of a buddy cop thing, because the Lanterns are effectively space cops. I hope they do something along those lines. I don't know if they will. Not much is said yet, but I'm very excited that they are putting it on HBO for one reason very specifically. It's actually, no, I lied. 2 reasons very specifically, because HBO is not known for diving very hard into a specific political bent, which has been a downfall for a lot of the CW shows. And secondly, the budget is going to be through the roof. And like they say that right up here. So I think they said that at the top. Our biggest DC show ever made, which is coming from Greg Berlanti. So I just read off all the shows he's responsible for, which is literally, I think it's almost every single live action DC show in the last like 10 years, 15 years maybe, except for like Smallville, except for Birds of Prey. Like we're talking about pretty much everything after that, Greg Berlanti pretty much produced. So it's safe to say that it will be the biggest DC show ever made. And I'm pretty excited about that, because there's a lot of literal size and scale, but also storytelling depth to the Green Lanterns. And so if you want to go big, Green Lantern's the way to go big. I'm excited about that. I'm actually really excited that it is going to be on HBO. I'm a little bit bummed because I'm like, I don't want to have to pay for another streaming service, but I'm sure they're going to find a way to do some crazy bundle with like DC Universe, HBO Max. Like they'll probably do like the Disney method, where there is a bundle of sorts to try to draw in viewership that way. Now that I've gone on quite a bit about the Green Lantern show, I want you guys to tell me what you think about that down below. We've talked about Greg Berlanti. We've talked about his show. And then I also want to talk to you guys about another show that's going to come onto the streaming service, which is DC Superhero High series, which is coming from, to HBO Max from producer Elizabeth Banks. So if you guys don't know, I'm a huge fan of Elizabeth Banks. I really like Elizabeth Banks as an actress. I think she's fantastic. Probably one of the best female actresses alive right now. In my mind, it's without a doubt. I really like her, and I hope that she does have a little bit more of a hand in front of the camera, not just as a producer. Maybe she does a direct. Maybe she does get herself involved in some of the writing. Would be great. I just think she's brilliant. But we've got a show coming up. If you guys remember, I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm gonna see if I can pull up. I'm going to pull something up for you guys. Watch this. Do you guys remember the Sky High movie? Do you guys remember what that was? It was like a family of superheroes, and they send their kid off to superhero school, which is it's a school in the sky for superpowered beings. And they separate you. How you graduate is you graduate either as a hero or a sidekick. So you kind of you're either a big deal or you're not a big deal. And this kid comes from a long line of like the greatest heroes ever. Both his parents were heroes, and he's kind of a sidekick. He doesn't have any powers, and everyone's freaking out because it's a huge deal. It was a great, great movie with Danielle Panabaker, and I don't know half the other crew's names, but seriously, one of my favorite movies. Now, that being said, the DC Superhero High series is sounding like it's going to be very much like that, but with DC characters. And so let me explain what this will kind of be. So it says here, HBOMAX, the upcoming streaming service for Warner Media, announced a heap of new details, blah, blah, blah. Ranging from Grease, Gossip Girl, Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera. Okay, let's get to the meat. It says here, it was announced that DC Superhero High series will be heading to the streaming service. A half-hour comedy, which will be executive produced by Elizabeth Banks, who does Charlie's Angels and Pitch Perfect. It says the series will reportedly follow a group of students experiencing the fun and drama of adolescence at a boarding school for gifted kids. These teens are just trying to navigate the pressures of high school, but none of them realize that someday they will become legendary DC superheroes. Now, so this is really interesting. I'll talk a little bit more about that in 1 second, but it's pretty cool because it sounds to me like they're gonna basically take like Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne. They might take like Deathstroke. They might take Lex Luthor. They might take a bunch of different, like even characters in the comics who aren't even the same age range. They're probably just going to like have them all meet somewhere in those 4 years of high school age range, and then have them all interacting together regardless of the fact that in the comics they might all be vastly different in age. It'd be really fun to just see like Ted Kord and Booster Gold. Even though Booster's from the future, maybe they just have him transfer from out of town. They're going to retcon a lot of it just to force it to fit. But that actually does sound like a lot of fun to me, because it's not something that's supposed to take place in the main continuity of the DC timeline or anything like that. It's its own thing. It's its own comedy based on DC characters. But I'm totally down for that. It sounds super fun. And if they do it anything like Sky High, to me that sounds super, super fun. And plus, if it's a show and not a movie, which they've said it is, then it's going to give us episodes of that. It's going to give us lots of that. We're going to get to see a lot of different things. Each episode could be about a different kid, or they could have, like 3 or 4 story arcs going through the show with different characters being the main characters. And I hope they would focus on like a villain character, a hero character, like a male hero character, male villain character, female hero character, female villain character, and have it play out that way, and watch that the antics, the drama, the craziness ensue. And I do have a lot of faith in Elizabeth Banks. I think she's really talented as a writer. I think she's talented as a producer, director, and as an actress. I think she's the full package. So if you're going to have someone on board for this type of thing, and she's nuts, that's also helpful. So I think she would be great for this thing. I'm really excited. This is a really fun. I'm almost more excited about this than I am for, and this is weird to say, but more excited for this than I am for Green Lantern, because we don't know anything about Green Lantern yet, and we've been burned once before with Green Lantern, so it's like there's a lot riding on Green Lantern. But with this, it's its own continuity. It's supposed to be silly. It's supposed to be ridiculous. It's not supposed to take itself very seriously, and it's going to be it's like just superheroes in high school. It's kind of like, if you guys have ever seen that kids show, DC Superhero Girls, it's about these young girls that are in school together. They're in high school or whatever, junior high. And it's Batgirl, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Zatanna, Bumblebee, a bunch of like the female characters. It's a cartoon on Netflix. And I watched that with my daughter a lot. She's a young little girl. We watched that one. It's a good show, actually. I'm unashamed to say it's a good show, but it could play out something like that just with both genders, so that to me sounds very, very fascinating, especially if they're going to lean into that Sky High type of vibe. That'd be fantastic. I hope we get more stuff like that where it's a DC style show or it's a DC reminiscent show where it has characters from DC and whatnot, but it takes liberties. It takes liberties where it doesn't have to be so strict, so serious, because Doom Patrol was zany. Even though they did follow the comics quite a bit, they did deviate and take some liberties. I hope for more shows that do that, where they are not afraid to be a little bit original, a little bit different. And it sounds like a really fun way to do it. So I'm totally down for this. This sounds fantastic. So that's all I wanted to say about that. What do you guys think about this Elizabeth Banks produced show, DC what is it called? Superhero High? Yeah. DC Superhero High series. I'm really, really pumped myself, but I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know. Anyways, let's move forward a little bit. I wanted to talk to you guys about the next topic of the day. Next topic of the day is actually going to be a question for you guys. So a lot of people think that the DC universe and HBOMAX are going to compete with one another, and that the presence of HBOMAX means that DC universe will be abolished, or it will cease to be. There will be no need for DC Universe if HBOMAX exists. And I want to read you guys an article. It's not super quick. I'll try to make it faster and just hit the bullet points. And then I'll follow up with my final thought, which is I believe the most important, because I believe I have got the answer to this. So stick around. I'm not going to leave you on the hook for too long. But let's talk about this. Are you guys worried about the DC Universe app? Do you guys have the DC Universe streaming service? I do. I love the DC streaming service app. It's refurbishing all my favorite like 90s and before TV shows, movies. It's got all the animation on there. It's got a killer comic book reader, like an e-reader for comics. You can just read on your tablet, on your TV in big, and you don't have to it's great. I love this app. And I hope that it stays strong, stays true, keeps making content, because I'm really, really liking everything that's going on there. And I don't want to see it go away, even if it does get like absorbed into HBO Max. That's not what I want. But people are worried. I have my buddy Comic Man Jake. He's got a YouTube channel. Check him out. Comic Man Jake texted me. He's like, "Hey man, what do you think about the HBO Max? Do you think this is the end for DC Universe?" And I said, you know what? I'm not entirely sure. But I will say I do think that HBO Max will end up being a partner streaming service as opposed to the end of DC Universe, because there's no way that HBO Max is going to have their own comic book reader, and there's no way that DC Universe is going to give up on the comics. So let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit more. So it says here, now that we know everything that's coming to HBO Max, which we already talked about in the previous parts of this video, it says many DC Comics fans have one question. What does this mean for DC Universe? The service launched last September on Batman Day and has since debuted multiple original series while also hosting thousands of comics and a small curated library of classic DC movies and TV shows. And that small library is getting bigger. It says, but ever since HBO Max was announced, fans have been wondering what will happen to the niche DC streamer, since both fall under the auspices of parent company Warner Media, and a promotional video teasing that the DC Universe original series Doom Patrol would be joining the massive new Warner Bros. Service for its sophomore season only raised more questions. So that was something that really raised a lot of hairs on people who are fans of the DC Universe. Doom Patrol announced that their new season, their second season, would also be on Warner Bros. Streaming service HBO Max. So we started to see, when this whole streaming service was announced, a lot of shows that are on the DC streaming service were either being shown on DC Universe and Netflix due to like the legal boundaries of like some countries don't have access to streaming service. They have to go through certain channels, and Netflix was the easiest way to do that. But instead of that, I think we're seeing here that the DC Universe original series Doom Patrol will be joining the massive new Warner Bros. Service for its sophomore season. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it will be on both, not exclusively on HBO Max. And the reason for this, I think, is because it is much more adult than the other shows. I'm sorry, I accidentally clicked on the button. Let's go back. So it says here, Doom Patrol, and it's because it's very much more mature. Titans is a little bit more reeled in. There's no sex scenes. I think there was one scene where they like kind of made out and they alluded to that type of adult content. And on HBO, there's basically no rules. I mean, for those of you guys who watch Game of Thrones, I don't watch Game of Thrones, but for those of you guys who watch Game of Thrones, you already know they don't hold back. So in that regard, I think Doom Patrol is a better fit on HBO because they can continue to go nuts. They can continue to go nuts. And so in this case, it's got fans worried. Are all the shows going to make their way over to HBO? I did at this point in time when I read this article, I said, you know what? I don't think so, because to me, that move makes sense, given the rating of Doom Patrol and how unleashed it is. I think that show probably belongs a little bit more on a streaming platform that is a little bit more adult. They tried to market Titans like it's going to be super, super adult. And what that meant was they were just going to use the F word a lot. And in that respect, I actually wish they wouldn't, because it kind of, it doesn't really represent how hardcore the show is. The show is great. Love the show. I don't want them to change the show. I don't want them to make it more than what it is or try to push it any further. I think it doesn't need to be pushed. I think they were pushing when they didn't need to push. And whereas Doom Patrol, I think it was where it needed to be. You know what I mean? And so in that respect, that's how I feel. But it says this: since its launch, DC Universe always felt more like a beta test for something bigger. This is an opinion, by the way. This is not, this doesn't seem like what it is. But it says, since its launch, DC Universe has always felt, to this guy, more like a beta test for something bigger, when its esoteric, revolving catalog that focused on HD remasters of old cult 70s shows like Wonder Woman and Shazam, whilst never featuring any of the so-called DCEU movies that include smash hits like Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Wonder Woman, Justice League and Aquaman, and now Shazam. It says, with the full lineup of HBO Max finally released, it's a little easier to work out where DC Universe stands in the current streaming wars. So, we're going to break down the similarities and differences between the two services and what this might mean for the future of the DC Universe app. These guys have a point, though. So, there's a few critiques that me and my wife have had about the DC streaming service, and it's that it is a little hard to navigate. They don't really have, it doesn't have like a recommended for you. Like how Netflix does, like it's really easy to navigate. You just go down the different columns. DC doesn't even have that, and it doesn't have like what you've been watching. You can't just click into one of those and then go episodes, and it's kind of tough to navigate. You have to manually search what you want. There's no like revolving thing that says these are all of the shows that we have to offer. It's not super intuitive on the viewership side, but the comic book reader and the new content they produce is great. So the actual content's great. The app is not outside of the comic book reader, which is excellent. It's not super intuitive. And so in that way, it does feel a little bit like a beta. But other than that, I think this person is basically just saying, where's all the DCEU movies? Well, those are owned by Warner Bros. And they didn't want to let those go to DC Universe. So I can understand that. And that's why it's going on to the HBO Max. So now, and I think that's also kind of good, because DC Universe they're trying to build for themselves a universe. They're trying to build for themselves a multiverse of different things. And the DCEU is outside of the control of DC. It's a Warner Bros. Controlled thing. And DC Universe is pretty much, for the most part, controlled by itself. They make their own stories for the most part. And so it says this. Let's go down and check this out. DC Universe is $7.99 a month. DC Universe wasn't even mentioned during the splashy HBO Max launch event this week. but reps from the streamer did post a message on their official message boards after it was read in part. Our Warner Media partners made some exciting news today, and we're psyched. We also want to assure you that DC Universe is still going strong with an exciting year of super fan service coming through this year and next. From our original programming library of beloved series, ever expanding comic library, real world events, and our just launched all new community, we're just getting started. What they're suggesting here is that DC Universe is still going strong, as they say right here, and they've got tons of stuff coming, lots of things coming, and again, they assure you we're just getting started. So they said at the publishing of this article that they are not done. They're just getting started. We have big plans to grow, big plans to expand. We're going to do a lot of things. And it says here, Doom Patrol Season 2 will be returning concurrently here as well as on HBO Max. Yeah, so this is what I thought. It returned concurrently here, meaning DC Universe, as well as on HBO Max. It's going to be on both. And it makes a lot of sense. Doom Patrol is the best reviewed show on the DC Universe, and then it's become a critical darling and a fan favorite. It's also the most mature of all the shows, and I think that's why that's the one that's getting shared on HBO. As for the rest of the other programming from DC streaming service, the status quo is unclear. To me, this doesn't sound like a logical next step. It sounds like a huge leap in logic, because they said they're just getting started. They've got tons coming. And the fact that Doom Patrol is going to be on both means that they still have a vested interest in DC, not just in HBO Max. So then it says here, let's discuss what they're keeping for us now. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Let's discuss what they'll be keeping for now. First up is Titans. Titans is going to remain there. And they talk about some of the international things about how it's on Netflix and whatnot. And then it talks, and then it says, I missed this part. We also know that DC Universe's Stargirl show is still scheduled to debut in early 2020. So that's good. They have plans moving forward. And that's more or less what we need to be hearing right now. The highly anticipated third season of Young Justice debuted already in January. And then it goes down. Where does it keep going? Young Justice was a key selling point for DC Universe and brought a lot of fans to the platform who might never have otherwise committed. There's also a new Harley Quinn animated series, which debuts on the streaming service in November. That's this month. And an animated anthology called Bizarro TV in the works. Meanwhile, the underrated Southern Gothic drama Swamp Thing is dead, that sucks. They should bring Swamp Thing back to life, literally, in the HBO Max, or just have some of the funding get reallocated. I'm not a big fan of reallocating funding especially if it's going to be from one streaming service to another, because if this one can't make it on its own, that one shouldn't be able to do it. That one shouldn't have to be involved. But if they can bring it to life again or revive it on HBO Max, I think they should, because that was a great show. It was really, really good. And so everyone I knew who saw the show was raving about it. Holy cow, it's so great. It's awesome. And then when they canceled it, like the day they launched it, I was like, what? Like, how could you do this? And yeah, but it's so good. And so let me see what else. Oh, they just talk about some of the DC animated films, like Justice League Gods and Monsters, All-Star Superman, Batman Under the Red Hood, Justice League Crisis on Two Earths, more recent offerings like Batman and Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman Bloodlines, and Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It talks about a ton of these things that are on there. So now let's talk about the shared stuff. Doom Patrol Season 2 is going to be on both platforms. We also have, let me see, where did it go? You can expect the Crown Jewels to end up on a new service. Interesting. So I think this, for the most part, sharing destination assets is not a good model and should be exclusive to the new service. Interesting. So to me, I think what he's saying here is correct. They shouldn't try to put a bunch of stuff on both platforms. I think it's better for each of the platforms to be their own platform and have their own content, with the exception, I think, of Doom Patrol, which I think is why they did that, because Doom Patrol is very mature compared to everything else over at DC Universe. And then the flip side, it'll fit right in with HBO. So if you want to get DC fans over to HBO, that's not going to be hard. You've got the Green Lantern show coming, the DC Superhero High, Doom Patrol Season 2 will be there. Not that they can't watch that on Universe. But then if you want people that don't really usually care about DC stuff, that watch HBO, if you want HBO fans to start watching DC content, you get original DC content onto HBO Max. People will tune in, check it out, and then they say, you know what, I like some of this stuff. Where can I find more of that? And the only other place you're going to get that is DC Universe. So they then hop over to DC Universe for $7.99 and they start watching Titans, and they start watching maybe possibly Young Justice, although I don't think that crowd will translate so directly. But hey, HBO does a lot of animation, so maybe. But anyway, that's kind of the gist of that. Now, HBO Max is $14.99 a month or with an HBO subscription. So if you already have an HBO subscription, I'm pretty sure you can just get the app. But if you don't have it, you can just get the app for $14.99. I don't think I have HBO, so I would have to do the app if I was going to do that. And I think I will, because I want to see Green Lantern. And specifically that DC Superhero High show, I'm going to definitely watch. So yeah, that's pretty much all that's talking about. What I wanted to point out, though, there is one more thing I wanted to point out to you guys, is a recent tweet that happened, I believe it was today, and this will pretty much cap off what I was talking about. This pretty much cemented it for me, proving that DC Universe is in fact going to live on. I know this topic has gone on for quite some time. We've been talking for a while, but the DC Universe Titans are getting started and just getting started. So Titans is just getting started. Season 3 is coming in 2020. And I think this announcement came out for exactly 2 reasons. One, we're not done with Titans Season 2, but DC Universe wants everybody to know, hold on to your boots, because there is a lot more Titans coming on, and we are just getting started. Now, another thing to note here is that the timing of it. People were starting to question, like all these articles I just showed you guys, they're all asking, what's going to happen to DC Universe? Is it going away? Are they going to crumble? Are they going to start? No, they've just told us right now that DC Universe is getting Titan Season 3 in 2020. They have plans that are moving forward through 2020, like Stargirl, we've got this one, plans that are going out to 2021 even. There is more content coming to DC Universe. They have no plans to shut down, and they are investing in more seasons of these shows. So that is comforting to me. That is all that I need to believe, that this streaming service will live on. It is going to move forward, and we don't have to be worried about DC Universe and HBO Max competing so much as existing together. They are partners. They are siblings under the parent company, Warner Media or Warner Brothers. And so to me, no problems here. I can keep watching my Titans. I can keep watching Young Justice. We can look forward to a lot more new shows. And in fact, they were even asking fans on the DC app and through emails and stuff. They were saying, hey, submit your topics, submit your thing. If you want to pitch a show, please pitch that to us so that we can create new shows. The winner is going to get their show created. And so they had specific criteria. You had to be a certain someone, like you had to be part of certain groups and certain like creative like teams and whatnot to submit them. So it was a little bit rigorous to get your pitch up, but nevertheless, they're seeking more. They want more content. They want more ideas. And so that being said, I decided to go a little bit of a back road to do this. But are you guys familiar? And this is where I'm going to do my pitch. Okay, so you guys, I'm going to show you guys a a tweet that I put out the other day. In response to this, I tried to submit a show, and they said like they didn't want a narrative show. So I was like, whatever. I think in narrative shows. So I was like, I don't know. I don't really want to pitch a non-narrative show. I will pitch a narrative show though, even though they didn't want it. I'm gonna go ahead and do that anyway. And how am I gonna do that if they don't want to receive those types of things? I'm going to tweet it. And it's going to mean literally nothing. No one's going to look at it except the people I tag in it, very likely. Because I don't do a whole lot on Twitter. I'm pretty small on Twitter. In fact, literally, I do research on Twitter. I don't really post. From time to time, I will. And you can feel free to tweet me because I do actually check it, but I don't do a whole lot. Now, let me go ahead and show you this. Where I'm beating a dead horse. I tweeted Greg Berlanti, who is now running with both DC Universe and HBO Max to create the Green Lantern show and a bunch of other stuff. But he's also just he's going to be the producer for DC content on HBO Max. Now that's going to include anything they do on that streaming service. So what I did here was I tweeted Greg Berlanti. I said here, hey, I got a show idea for you. Ace the Bat Hound. And so if you guys don't know who Ace the Bat Hound is, Ace the Bat Hound is Batman's dog. Ace the Bat Hound has been depicted as a bunch of different kinds of dogs. I believe he was originally a German Shepherd. He's been depicted as a Great Dane. He's been depicted as a English Bull Mastiff, if I'm not mistaken. English Bull Mastiff, was that the one? I can't remember. German Shepherd dog here. And let me see if I can find the other one. It's not hugely important, but like Great Dane here. It's Great Dane, by the way, is what Scooby-Doo is, which is super ironic. And that's how they portrayed him on Batman Beyond. So I don't know if you guys see this. In New 52, you can see that Damian Wayne was given a dog that he named Titus. He was going to name him Ace. See, like he says, he considered naming the dog Ace. Damian rejects the dog at first, but he eventually bonds with him. That was just how they portrayed him in New 52 as kind of a cameo, really. Not so much directly Ace the Bat Hound. But they did Ace the Bat Hound in DC Rebirth, and they had him in the TV show Batman Beyond as a Great Dane named Ace the Bat Hound, or Ace. And he was shown to have been owned by Bruce Wayne in his older age, as opposed to the original version, which was a German Shepherd owned by Batman during his youth. So that to me, and when I say youth, I mean just like early 20s, probably 30 maybe. So that's approximately how old he was. Now, what I think would be really fun, I don't want like a dog in the sense of like Jim Carrey's Grinch and Max who pulled the sleigh. Like I don't want it necessarily like that. What I mean is, I'll read it to you. So it says here, hey Greg, I got a show idea for you. Ace the Bat Hound. It's basically a one-man dog show, or a one-man/dog show, voiced by, and I selected the person I want to voice, because in my head, this is how it sounds. I picked Patrick Warburton. If you guys don't know who Patrick Warburton is, he's this guy. He also voiced Krunk in The Emperor's New Groove, which is like, he goes, all right, the poison chosen especially to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison. That poison. And then he was like, yes, that poison. He's that guy. So if you guys also know, he's Joe from Family Guy. So the guy in the wheelchair. Oh, hey, Peter, how's it going? You know, that guy. So he sounds like that, and I think he has the perfect voice. He was also in the Netflix A Series of Unfortunate Events. And for me, when I saw that show, he played Lemony Snicket, who's the detective who does the fourth wall breaking narrative. So the kids will be in some crazy traumatic scene where they're abducted or something, and then he'll step in front of the camera, or like in front, and then he'll narrate to you, the audience, to me, and he'll say, oh, well, the kids, they didn't know what was coming for them, but what you can know is what's coming around the corner. And then it'll like turn to the next scene or something. He'll give like the gist of, you know, this person knew this person and they knew them, and there was no way the kids could have known, but now you know, and then he'll say something kind of clever like that. And but Patrick Warburton, I think, would be the perfect voice for Ace the Bat Hound. I want this show. Look, check this out. I'm just going to read it to you and then we'll talk about it. It says, voiced by Patrick Warburton, it follows Ace the Bat Hound as he sniffs out crime. I meant that as a pun, literally, but also as a pun, and takes down baddies. it can recognize its silliness, but the show is done as a serious crime investigation show. So it can break the fourth wall, kind of Deadpool stylish, or as the show did in like Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr., or done in the way that Sherlock is done on BBC, where it's like it's an actual crime investigation show where you, the viewer, don't know the end of the story. You're watching these crimes unfold, and you're watching Ace, or Sherlock in that case, solve the mystery. That's what I want to see. And but it can be a dog. Have it actually be a dog. And then you have Patrick Warburton voice the detective dog. And then it says, I continued on because I made a spelling error here. I said it can't recognize its own silliness. I meant it can recognize its own silliness. So here's what I say. I meant it can recognize its own silliness, fourth wall breaking, and being a dog type jokes with Patty Warbucks' voice, perfect for dry and funny fourth wall breaking, as he did in A Series of Unfortunate Events. For kicks, you could even get David Spade to voice the main baddie, who played Cusco in The Emperor's New Groove, which I think would be great. And it says likely a cat, meaning David Spade, the main villain, could play a cat. Doesn't have to be like Joker or Joker's cat, but it could be some cat in Gotham. You know what I mean? And then the last thing I said was to both of them, I would pay good money to watch a criminal investigation type show about Batman's dog starring Patrick Warburton. Good money. And that I would. If they put that on HBO Max, I'm buying HBO Max. I would love to see, because that's what like DC superhero high sounds like to me. It sounds like something that just, it takes the superhero concepts we know and love and creates something new with it without having to step on the history that is Batman, without having to step on those types of things. It makes something that is fun and refreshing and different. You know what I mean? And surprisingly, Detective Comics hasn't put out a lot of detective shows. So to me, I think it feels about time. It's high time for that, I think. And so the interesting thing I want to point out to you guys here is this. Only one person liked my thing. Only one person liked these tweets. And that's fine and dandy and all. But I wanted to show you guys the one person that liked them is Patrick Warburton. So Patrick Warburton liked all three of my tweets. He liked the actual tweet, and then he liked the 2 comments I left to continue the tweet. And so no word on like Greg Berlanti liking it or anything, but Patrick Warburton seems to like it. So hey, I think that's a step in the right direction. So let me know what you guys think about my pitch. This is something silly. It's not something that HBO or DC has confirmed. It's not something, but do you guys want to see more detective shows? Do you guys want to see more DC shows that actually do detective work, where the episodes are actually about solving crimes? The shows are actually about solving the mystery. Something like Sherlock, something like True Detective, something like Columbo or Monk, or something where they actually have to solve a crime. To me, those are some of my favorite shows of all time. I would really like to see a DC show done in that same spirit, and it would be a lot of fun, and I think it's appropriate. It's Detective Comics. So, that being said, what do you guys think about my pitch for Ace the Bat Hound on HBO Max or DC streaming service, whatever you guys prefer? Let me know down in the comments, and I cannot wait to hear from you any longer. So this video has gone on quite a while. I will go ahead and cut it from here, but tell me your thoughts down below. If you guys like this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also be sure to click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please turn on notifications so that you could be alerted right away when I go live next time. That way you won't miss a single thing. And if you guys haven't noticed, directly below me right now, tpublic.com/user/the Stuff of Legend show is my merchandise website. It is linked below, so you don't have to remember any of that garbage. You can just click the link below. There's over 180 designs. Forget the note down here where it says 130. It's actually 180 now. I've uploaded a bunch of those designs up there for you. A lot of Power Rangers designs, Batman, Joker, Superman, Supergirl, Spider-Man designs, all kinds of designs you guys can get down with. Find your favorite actors, find your favorite voice actors who played these awesome epic roles and get your merch today. There's t-shirts, there's mugs, stickers, pins, magnets, there's phone and laptop cases, wall art that you can get, posters, canvases, all kinds of tote bags, whatever you need. We got them. T-shirts, tanks, crew neck sweaters, long sleeve tees. You got it. Lots and lots of merch. So do me a favor. If you want to support the channel, all the free ways are like, share, comment, subscribe. And if you want to support me financially, please go to the link in the description and get your merch today. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more right here on The Stuff of Legend.